Welcome to Andy Reads the Bible, where we're reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 1 year. I'm your host, Andy Brassfield. Today is January the 8th, and I'll be reading Genesis chapters 25 and 26 from the Message translation. Genesis chapter 25. Abraham married a second time. His new wife was named Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shuah. Jokshan had Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Ashurim, the Letushim, and the Lumim. Midian had Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abidah, and Eldah, all from the line of Keturah. But Abraham gave everything he possessed to Isaac. While he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons he had by his concubines, but then sent them away to the country of the east, putting a good distance between them and his son Isaac. Abraham lived 175 years. Then he took his final breath. He died happy at a ripe old age, full of years, and was buried with his family. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, next to Mamre. It was the field that Abraham had bought from the Hittites. Abraham was buried next to his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac. Isaac lived at Beer Lahai Roi. This is the family tree of Ishmael, son of Abraham, the son of Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maid, bore to Abraham. These are the names of Ishmael's sons in the order of their births. Naboth, Ishmael's firstborn, Kedar, Adbil, Mibsam, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah, all the sons of Ishmael. Their settlements and encampments were named after them, 12 princes with their 12 tribes. Ishmael lived 137 years. When he breathed his last and died, he was buried with his family. His children settled down all the way from Havilah near Egypt eastward to Shur, in the direction of Assyria. The Ishmaelites didn't get along with any of their kin. This is the family tree of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham had Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Paddan Aram. She was the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed hard to God for his wife because she was barren. God answered his prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant. But the children tumbled and kicked inside her so much that she said, "If this is the way it's going to be, why go on living?" She went to God to find out what was going on. God told her, "2 nations are in your womb, 2 peoples butting heads while still in your body. One people will overpower the other. The older will serve the younger." When her time to give birth came, sure enough, there were twins in her womb. The first came out reddish, as if snugly wrapped in a hairy blanket. They named him Esau, hairy. His brother followed, his fist clutched tight to Esau's heel. They named him Jacob, heel. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. The boys grew up. Esau became an expert hunter and outdoorsman. Jacob was a quiet man, preferring life indoors among the tents. Isaac loved Esau because he loved his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day Jacob was cooking a stew. Esau came in from the field starved. Esau said to Jacob, "Give me some of that red stew. I'm starved." That's how he came to be called Edom, red. Jacob said, "Make me a trade, my stew for your rights as the firstborn." Esau said, "I'm starving. What good is a birthright if I'm dead?" Jacob said, "First swear to me." And he did. On oath, Esau traded away his rights as the firstborn. Jacob gave him bread and the stew of lentils. He ate and drank and got up and left. That's how Esau shrugged off his rights as the firstborn. Chapter 26. There was a famine in the land, as bad as the famine during the time of Abraham. And Isaac went down to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. God appeared to him and said, "Don't go down to Egypt. Stay where I tell you. Stay here in this land, and I'll be with you and bless you. I'm giving you and your children all these lands, fulfilling the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I'll make your descendants as many as the stars in the sky, and give them all these lands. All the nations of the earth will get a blessing for themselves through your descendants. And why? Because Abraham obeyed my summons and kept my charge, my commands, my guidelines, my teachings." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. The men of the place questioned him about his wife. He said, "She's my sister." He was afraid to say, "She's my wife." He was thinking, these men might kill me to get Rebekah. She's so beautiful. One day, after they had been there quite a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out his window and saw Isaac fondling his wife Rebekah. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she's your wife? Why did you tell us she's my sister?" Isaac said, "Because I thought I might get killed by someone who wanted her." Abimelech said, "But think of what you might have done to us. Given a little more time, one of the men might have slept with your wife. You would have been responsible for bringing guilt down on us." Then Abimelech gave orders to his people. "Anyone who so much as lays a hand on this man or his wife dies." Isaac planted crops in that land and took a huge harvest. God blessed him. The man got richer and richer by the day until he was very wealthy. He accumulated flocks and herds and many, many servants, so much so that the Philistines began to envy him. They got back at him by throwing dirt and debris into all the wells that his father's servants had dug back in the days of his father Abraham, clogging up all the wells. Finally, Abimelech told Isaac, "Leave. You've become far too big for us." So Isaac left. He camped in the valley of Gerar and settled down there. Isaac dug again the wells which were dug in the days of his father Abraham, but had been clogged up by the Philistines after Abraham's death. And he renamed them, using the original names his father had given them. One day, as Isaac's servants were digging in the valley, they came on a well of spring water. The shepherds of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's shepherds, claiming, "This water is ours." So Isaac named the well Esek, quarrel, because they had quarreled over it. They dug another well, and there was a difference over that one also, so he named it Sitnah, accusation. He went on from there and dug yet another well. But there was no fighting over this one, so he named it Rehoboth, wide open spaces. saying, "Now God has given us plenty of space to spread out in the land." From there he went up to Beersheba. That very night God appeared to him and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Don't fear a thing, because I'm with you. I'll bless you and make your children flourish because of Abraham my servant." Isaac built an altar there and prayed, calling on God by name. He pitched his tent, and his servants started digging another well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzeth, his advisor, and Phicol, the head of his troops. Isaac asked them, "Why did you come to me? You hate me. You threw me out of your country." They said, "We've realized that God is on your side. We'd like to make a deal between us, a covenant that we maintain friendly relations. We haven't bothered you in the past. We treated you kindly and let you leave us in peace. So God's blessing be with you." Isaac laid out a feast, and they ate and drank together. Early in the morning they exchanged oaths. Then Isaac said goodbye, and they parted as friends. Later that same day, Isaac's servants came to him with news about the well they had been digging. "We've struck water." Isaac named the well Sheba, oath, and that's the name of the city Beersheba, oath well, to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They turned out to be thorns in the sides of Isaac and Rebekah. And that concludes today's reading. So Esau sold his birthright for some beans. Isn't that what lentils is? But really, I don't know if so much of the blame falls on him as it should on Jacob. I mean, what kind of brother says to his dying brother, "I'll give you some food in exchange for anything"? You know, he was a conniver. There's no doubt about that. Please visit us on Facebook. Search for Andy Reads the Bible over on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you over there. Today's episode is sponsored by Big Tree Telecom, where you can get a world-class phone system without all the hassle and expense. To learn more about how we can help your business talk big, visit us on the web at bigtreetele.com. That's bigtreetele.com. Thank you for listening. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.